Hey guys, Justin with AmericanMuscle.com, and today we're taking a closer look at and installing the Air Raid Junior intake tube and filter kit available for all 2015 and newer EcoBoost powered Mustangs. Now, you guys should be considering the Air Raid Junior if you're looking to ditch the two most restrictive parts of the factory intake system while still maintaining the use of Ford's well-engineered airbox and all of the factory cold air ducting that goes along with it. So the truth is, the factory airbox setups have come a very long way over the last decade or two, and the reality is the factory is getting very, very good at designing efficient and free-flowing setups that utilize fresh air ducting that usually pulls air from the front of the car. And honestly, they do a great job. However, there is always room for improvement. Now, earlier I mentioned that this kit from Air Raid is going to basically improve two areas of the factory system, and it does so by eliminating and replacing two of the most restrictive parts. That is the factory inlet tube and the cheap factory paper element filter. Now, Air Raid claims by replacing these parts, not only are you going to see a small bump in horsepower and torque, but also a slight increase to things like throttle response and miles per gallon as well. Now, as far as your build is concerned, well, interested EcoBoost owners can look forward to things like your rotomolded plastic intake tube. And I like this design a lot because not only will that plastic be less prone to heat soak, but the textured black design of the Air Raid option is going to look great under the hood and flow very well with other stock components. Now, along with that tube, you are also replacing the single-use paper element factory filter with one of Air Raid's signature filters. This is their Synthaflow oiled option, which will reside in the factory location in that stock airbox. Now, as a general rule of thumb here, guys, oiled filters are gonna typically outflow dry options ever so slightly because in this case, they're gonna incorporate a slightly more open or porous media, and that is going to rely on the oil to capture all the dirt and dust particles and isolate them in that oil. Now, one of the nice things here too is that the Synthaflow is washable, it is reusable, and it's gonna save you some money in the long run as opposed to just replacing those dry filters every 10,000 miles or so. Now, speaking of saving money, the Air Raid Junior kit and its ballpark $300 price point or so will certainly save you some money over going with one of the company's more complete systems. In fact, the Junior that we have here is going to be roughly $150 more affordable than the MXP system, also available from Air Raid here on the site. Now, install will be slightly different from most intakes because, again, you are only replacing two parts of the factory setup. Still very easy, still very straightforward, and therefore the site's gonna stick with a 1 out of 3 wrench rating on the difficulty meter in at least 30 minutes. I would say, give or take, maybe a little bit longer depending on your skill set, but I would say 30 minutes or so, you should be good to go. But now let's throw it out to the shop. Let's check out our detailed walkthrough and tool breakdown.
The tools you'll need for this project are a ratchet, a 7mm, an 8mm, a 10mm socket, a trim removal tool, and a pair of pliers. Hi everyone, today we're installing a cold air intake on our Mustang, so let's get started with the uninstall of the stock system first. First thing we're going to do is disconnect our negative battery cable using our 10mm socket, and this will allow the computer to reset once we install the new system. So we just loosen that up and go ahead and remove our cable. Now we'll use our trim removal tool and remove this clamp for the harness off of the airbox, and then we'll disconnect our intake sensor like so, simply by pushing in on the release lever and pulling out. Next thing we'll do is use our 7mm socket and loosen this clamp up here, and then the other one on the throttle body. Now once you've got that one loose, you can go ahead and disconnect this tube from the airbox. Now we'll go ahead and loosen the other clamp. Now we'll use our 7mm socket to loosen the clamp that goes to the turbo. Now we'll disconnect the PCV line from the air inlet tube simply by pushing down on the gray lever and lifting up. Now you need a pair of pliers to remove the bypass tube for the turbo from the air inlet tube as well. So we'll just use the pliers and squeeze the clamp together. Once we've released the tension on the spring, you can go ahead and just pull the hose off the inlet tube. Now with all of our hoses disconnected from our inlet tube, we can go ahead and slide the inlet tube off of the turbo and remove it. Now we can go ahead and remove the lid off of our airbox simply by flipping the levers at the end, lifting it up and out. Then we'll just go ahead and lift the air filter out. Now we can go ahead and start the install. Now we'll install our new filter where the old one was, reinstall our lid, and secure it with the clamps. Now we can reattach our inlet temperature sensor and reconnect our harness to the lid. Now we can go ahead and install our rubber grommet and our PCV fitting into our new inlet tube. And to do that, we're just going to slide the grommet into place, making sure that it's secure. And locked in. And once you've got that installed, then we can go ahead and slide the larger end of our PCV fitting into the grommet. Making sure that it's secure as well. Once we've got that done, now we can go ahead and put the couplers on the ends and get ready to put it in the car. Now we can go ahead and slide one of our clamps over our hump coupler. And you're going to want to put this first clamp on the smaller end of the coupler itself, and then we'll slide this onto our air box. Now you do want to position the head of the bolt on this clamp to a point where you can actually access it to tighten it down once we've got everything installed. Now we'll go ahead and install the smaller coupler to the other end of our tube. And again, we're going to put the clamp on our coupler first, and then just slide it over the end of the tube. Now once we've got that clamp on, then we'll install our small clamp on the other end. And now we can go ahead and insert this onto the turbo, and then we'll put the other end into the other coupler. Now we slide our intake tube down in front of the engine, over the turbo, Now we can slide our large clamp onto our intake tube on the other end and put it into the coupler. I'm going to slide our clamp over the coupler here. Now we can go ahead and tighten them all down using our 8mm socket. Now we'll tighten down the clamps on the other end as well. And once you've got your clamps tight, now we can go ahead and reconnect our PCV line and our turbo bypass hose. We're just going to slide the PCV line down over the new fitting and push it down until it snaps into place. Now we can go ahead and reattach our PCV line simply by inserting it over the top of the new fitting and pressing it down until it snaps into place. Once it snaps into place, then we can go ahead and reattach our turbo bypass hose using our pliers to compress the spring. And sliding it over the top. Now we can go ahead and reconnect our battery cable. Now we'll tighten it down with our 10mm socket. And our install is complete. And that wraps up our review and install of the Air Raid Junior intake tube kit with red Synthaflow oiled filter for the 15 and newer Mustang EcoBoost. Thanks for watching, and remember, for all things Mustang, keep it right here at AmericanMuscle.com.